Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and sorry about the late stream, folks. But either way, we're going to be looking at the Waverley Abbey Surrey dragon sightings. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to look at more, dragon sightings from Waverley Abbey that people have been saying for the last few years is inhabited by weird demonic entities, dragon-like beings, or just straight up dragons, folks. We're gonna have some fun. But first, let's look at some Indiegogos, by the way, folks, and Kickstarters. So let me go to share screen, and we'll get into this stream now, folks. Yeah. All right, let's see where to look up first. Yeah. Let's look at some NES games on Kickstarter, folks, or we could look at Godlike Romulus. Yeah, let's look at Godlike the Romulus Saga Volume 2. Let me mute that. Let me do this. Let me make sure people are watching. Also, let me do this, folks. Let's see if we can get any more people up here, folks. Let me make sure I'm streaming up on Rumble. Here we go. Sorry about the delay, folks. As I said, sometimes I screw up. Either way, let's read about, Godlike, the Romulus Saga Volume 2, just best described as Game of Thrones meets the Marvel Universe. 10,000 years from now, the galactic wars have ended and a new age has begun. In the last standing years of the Great War, humanity fought in vain against Aeon. They say that a man armed with a Tristar, the sword of power, fought the enemy back across the galaxy, sacrificing his own life. He was called the Romulus. 2,000 years later, Atreides, a man haunted by visions of a bygone age and a mythical world known as Earth, must remember his past to save the last of humanity on a distant dying world, an age where magic and super science are one. To kill a god, a champion must become godlike. Not bad, folks. Pretty good. Here's basically a cover for Godlike, the Romulus Saga, and stuff like that. Either way, looks pretty good. There's also, let's see, John Mayland Jawbreaker's Graveyard Shift continues his larger-than-life epic, groundbreaking Sean Davis, Starlight, Cats, and Glorious Rex. As you can see, with this cover here, cover A by John Mayland and Ben Smith. This is cover A, folks. This is cover B by Sean Davis and Kyle Ritter. It's another great-looking cover, folks. Then we have the supplemental, which is basically more stories from the Godlike universe, folks. Here we have this guy who's with a top hat, basically looks like he's a turn-of-the-century gentleman with his, human-faced dog creature behind him. This is the cover by John Mayland for Supplemental 2, as I said. Supplemental 2, Songs of Doom. John Mayland, Godlike Shift, Graveyard Shift, and Justin Murphy in Jun War Party bring you an unknown tale from the Old West, served with horrors of the Aeon story encounters a mysterious stranger that will change everything. The Hangman cometh. So this guy is, I assume, is the Hangman, folks. Not bad. Either way, here's basically, we also have Lords of, a preview page from Tarazul, line art by Otfro Roy, colors by Ben Smith. Down here, folks. I think that's what they're saying here, folks. Either way, basically, this is also Visions 3 Virgin, Gods and Monsters. Various artists, John Mayland assembles some of the best comic book talent from around the world to illustrate the world of extremists. Each artist will draw their own godlike pinup. Ferocious men and beautiful women discover a whole new world of talent and characters. Not bad, folks. Look at that artwork. Either way, basically it's a pinup book, folks, and I have to say I like what I'm seeing there. Either way, what about backing it? Let's go down here, folks. Now, let's see. Godlike 2, cover A by John Mayland. Cover A here, folks, is $25. Cover B is cover B is also down here as well, folks. So, it's Godlike 2, cover B, Davis is $40. Okay, I get it. A bit pricey, but there might be more to it, folks. But then again, you can also back, Godlike 1 and 2 reprints in this campaign as well, folks, for $20. But you can also do the featured perk, which is Ascendant. Basically, you can back Godlike cover, John Mayland cover, and the supplemental, and get the Visions pinup book, all for $75, folks. That's not a bad price. Either way, you can catch up with this campaign by basically backing, Godlike, 1, second printing, and the supplemental, 4. well, godlike one for, well, $20 each, folks. And then you can basically back the actual book, Godlike 2, and the supplemental for $25 each. Now, is there any other perks where you can basically back all of it, folks, together? Maybe. Let's go down here, folks. Either way, you also have basically what you need perk. This basically gives you you get one copy each of Godlike Volume 1, second print, Godlike 2 Supplemental, second print, and Supplemental 2 comics will be carefully placed in a protective sleeve with protective board sent to you in a Gemini comic book flash mailer. Okay, for some $90, folks, you get basically covers 1 and 2 and the supplementals, all for $90. That's pretty good. Basically, it's a catch-up perk there. It's basically the what you need perk. Okay, not bad. That was Godlike, folks. Let's take a look at the trailer for this campaign now.
I've seen how far we've gone, and it's breaking me. I've held onto the stone, and it's taking me down. It's just a way of preparing you for the dull realities of everyday's life. It's just a way of awaiting you in this quest of saving and way of life.
Godlike.
All right, that was Godlike. It's up on Indiegogo, folks. Go back it. But let's go over here, folks, and look at basically some NES games. Now, let's go down here, folks. We also have the Atheist video game, folks. This campaign, well, it looks pretty good. But it's basically, well, it's launching soon, but basically they do give you screenshots of this game, folks, as well as a trailer. But let's basically read the synopsis for it, folks. Explore, upgrade, survive. Humanity's last hope lies beyond the stars. After decades of war, Earth is a toxic wasteland. The distant world, Atheist, 10 light years away, may be humanity's salvation, but only an artificial explorer can survive the journey. You play as Kira, an autonomous synthetic AI aboard the mothership Elysium. Years of orbital study are cut short when a massive energy surge cripples the ship. With damaged thrusters and failing systems, you must ascend to Atheist, where survival becomes your only, mission. Either way, you can see some screenshots from the game, folks, and they look pretty good. Beneath the planet's crust, as we continue with the synopsis here, folks, beneath the planet's crust stirs Zyrek, a colossal war construct that Nizari, detecting your arrival, he scattered unstable energy cores to sabotage Elysium and stop humanity's foothold. Kira will not retreat. She must destroy the cores, restore Elysium, and confront Zyrek. Humanity's future depends on stopping the machine, Titan, before Atheos is lost. You see more artwork here, folks. It looks pretty good. You even play a demo of this, folks. Either way, will you help Kyra stop, Zyrek and save humanity? Or what? Either way, this is a new NES game for your classic Nintendo Entertainment System, which means even I can back this, game, get a copy of it, and play it on my home system. But let's take a look at the trailer here, and then you can decide. All right, folks. Ooh, that was Elysium. It looks pretty well. I mean, that was Atheos. It looks pretty good. Go back to this game when it finally launches, folks. But let's go over here and look at this article now. Let me also do this, folks, so you all can see my face a bit better. And let me do this, center the camera, and here we go. Now, let's look at mass dragon sightings. At Waverley Abbey, Surrey-related Barnsley encounter raises new fortune questions. Indeed, folks, for the last few years, people have been seeing dragons at, well, Waverley Abbey in, well, the United Kingdom. So let's read on. In late December 2023, multiple witnesses reported seeing large, well, bat-like entities. Yeah, bat-winged dragon-like entities over the ruins of Waverley Abbey in Surrey, England. Investigated by British cryptozoologist Richard Freeman. Yeah, indeed. This happened in England, folks. Yeah. Richard Freeman. The case presents a rare convergence of mass eyewitness testimony, anomalous lights, and poltergeist-like effects, suggesting a possible new fortune window area rather than an isolated sighting. Indeed, folks. Maybe this area is another window area where these sorts of mysterious phenomena just occur. And this area is rife with basically people seeing sightings of dragons. But let's continue. In January 2025, I received an email from my friend and colleague, British cryptozoologist Richard Freeman. Richard is also the zoological director of the Center for Fortune Zoology. He forwarded the following article about the ongoing investigation of mass sightings of dragons in England. Indeed. Sounds very out there, doesn't it, folks? We can only just guess at the real nature of it. So far, folks, we have 9 people watching, and we have a few chats. Wasteland Witness 2025, and silence falls over the room. Sorry for caps. I don't mind Wasteland Witness 2025. Or should I just call you Wasteland Witness? It looks pretty good to me. But let's continue. In January 2025, basically, great, yeah. This guy, he received, well, an email from his college friend, zoologist Richard Freeman, about the mass sightings of dragons in England. So let's get back to where I left off, folks. Hi, Lon. You might be interested in this case for the Phantoms and Monsters site. It involves mass witnesses. It involves a mass witness sighting, or should I say a mass of witnesses who sighted dragons in England a little over a year ago. It's an ongoing investigation, and I'll be going back to the area again. All the best, Rich. This comes from Richard Freeman, a cryptozoologist from, well, I don't really have to say it again, folks, but from England and stuff like that, investigating this area. Let's continue and hear more about Richard Freeman and his investigation. The dragon is the great granddaddy of all monsters. Forget about demons, vampires, and zombies. The dragon predates all of these and other monsters. The earliest dragon legends have been traced back to South Africa and date to some 75,000 years ago. This most powerful, ancient, and widespread monster appears in every culture, country on Earth. Great Britain alone has over 100 dragon legends. You can see how widespread it is, folks. I mean, for God's sakes, even in, well, South America, we have legends of dragons. Well, if you didn't know it, folks, Quetzalcoatl, the winged serpent, is more or less a dragon in itself, folks. Then there's also the legends about the Thunderbird, big winged bird entities and stuff like that. They're basically a part of the myths of, well, of North American, Native Americans, folks. And while they are not exactly basically, well, they're supposed to be giant birds, folks, people have basically given them, well, modern sightings of these entities, more of a pterodactyl-like look. So dragon could also fit the Thunderbird as well, perhaps to some degree. Either way, indeed, people have seen these things for thousands of years, folks. So, yeah. So that is what we're talking about here today, folks, along with basically these Waverley Abbey sightings. Why are people seeing these entities? Why are they so widespread? And what basically started this legend to begin with? Let's read on. Now, many UK dragon stories feature the beast appearing out of the blue, terrorizing an area, then simply vanishing as mysteriously as it appeared, almost as if it came out of a portal, folks, and then vanished back through another portal, back to wherever it came from, folks. Much as if it basically, if it did come from some sort of, well, window of opportunity, as if there was an area that basically became like an area like Waverley Place here that we're talking about here, folks, that for whatever reason, some, well, juncture, portal, or basically, well, something happened and now this entity through. And perhaps after this conjunction was over, folks, and this whole in reality sealed, this entity either disappeared from our world back to where it went, or just simply ceased to exist. But that would basically line with many of these many of these stories from Britain about these entities, these dragons appearing and then as mysteriously disappearing. But that's only me, folks. Let's continue. There is no hero or damsel in distress in some of these stories, folks. As it said, the monster disappears, the dragon terrorizes the land, and then just disappears. The dragons are Wormingford, Sherfolk, which basically in Sherfolk, dragons are called Wormingford, or Enwick in Lincolnshire, and Cawthorne in Yorkshire are examples of these. They sound remarkably like modern accounts of mystery animals that turn up, scare witnesses, and then vanish again, such as the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which records sightings of dragons. So maybe, in fact, folks, dragons, much like basically other cryptid-like entities, also disappear from out of the blue, and temporarily, as if basically they're just thrust into our world just for a little bit, folks. They disappear as soon as this conjunction, this portal or whatever allowed them to come through, seals itself. Maybe there is such a connection here, folks. Now, moving on. Over the years, many theories of what lies behind dragons and behind dragon lore have been offered. The fossil bones of dinosaurs and other giant extinct animals, meanings with huge crocodiles and pythons, or a metaphor for energies running through the earth, none of them really cut the mustard as an explanation for the dragon phenomena. At least not all of it, folks, but maybe all of them. Maybe each phenomena, each explanation does exist to some extent, folks, as well as other examples, other explanations that people do want to basically take seriously do exist as well. As basically, because if you look at the reptilian mythology, folks, that maybe what we call dragons are in reality what most people basically would now call reptilians. Remember, if people saw, a giant lizard-like creature in England back hundreds of years ago, folks, they would have called it a dragon. Especially if this entity had basically wings or maybe some sort of power or basically a flight apparatus on its back, folks, that basically allowed it to fly. And if this being was about 8 feet tall, folks, they'd say basically that it was a dragon, wouldn't they? Maybe this is also another sightings of dragon-like or basically reptilian entities, folks. And then there's also Quetzalcoatl and all the North American legends about snake people, folks. Literally, half people have snakes, as well as a Naga from India. Now, both the India Naga and stuff like that, as well as the North American snake people, folks. That is very telling, isn't it? They sound like dragons as well from some of the legends. But let's read on now and get back to the article and stuff like that. Most people, at least in the West, think of the dragon as a folkloric creature with no basis in reality, yet people all over the world claim to have encountered dragons in the modern age. I have been collecting these accounts for some time. Here are just a few. In Namibia, there's a tradition of a giant winged serpent that is, a glowing gem in its horned head. Sounds very interesting, folks. And it does almost sounds like basically a dragon from basically an RPG system where you basically slay the dragon, take this gem as basically some sort of magical MacGuffin and use it to defeat the enemy, the big bad guy of the game. Yeah, this giant winged serpent with a glowing gem in its horned head. Now, one of the most dramatic sightings was in 1978 when a French farmer was tending his cattle. French farmer. Yeah. Basically in 1978, folks, a few years and stuff like that. A few years basically before the 80s began, folks, when a French farmer was tending his cattle in the Kairos region and saw a bright white light heading straight toward him. Then afterward, he heard a massive thud and he heard one of his cattle cry out in pain. As he rushed to check what attacked the cow, he saw a dragon. He told the local police, "I saw what it looked like, as the best matching description I can give you is that it looked like a dragon. It had a whole bright light on its head, which was blinding me. The color of it was brown and yellow. It had green eyes. There was a tar-like smell coming from it, and had smoke coming out of its nostrils," which is very telling, folks. That does sound like basically the Namibia dragon with this glowing gem in its head, which also reminds me of another reptilian-like encounter, folks. Back in North America, folks, back maybe about 100 years ago, there's this legend of this pterodactyl-like entity with these, two pterodactyl-like entities that was terrorizing a town, and both entities came from a mine, folks. They flew, and they looked like pterodactyls, folks, and they shot beams of light from their foreheads with these with these jewels embedded in them. These accounts sound all very similar to each other, folks, so is there any, merit to them, folks? Now, as I said, the thing here, folks, is that these entities look like pterodactyls and stuff like that, while these other legends seem more snake-like or dragon-like. But they're both describing reptilian creatures, are they not? Which is very interesting. Either way, these two pterodactyls were chased back to the mine where they emerged from, folks. They were shot, and basically townspeople shot at them and wounded them, and they both retreated back into the mine, which the townspeople then basically sealed shut with some dynamite. So no one really knows if they're alive or not, folks. At least that's how the legend goes, folks. I'm pretty sure. Either way, there's even more to basically look at this, folks. The fact that these entities all have glowing gems in their foreheads, are reptilian-like, and can even fly around is very interesting. But that's only just the beginning, folks. Viking folklore is full of dragon legends, so the following account should come as no surprise. In 2010, the Icelandic volcano, and I'm going to butcher this name, folks, Eyjafjallajökull erupted, spewing out titanic clouds of ash into the atmosphere and grounding plains for weeks. One local man watching the eruption saw something flying about the volcano. He realized that what he saw must have been huge due to the great distance he was observing it from. At first, he thought it was a plane until he saw the wings flapping in an email to Lars Thomas, the Danish biologist and cryptozoologist. He said the following: as I see it, there are only two possible explanations. Either I was imagining the whole thing, or what I saw was in fact a dragon. I find that very hard to believe it, but then again, I don't think I could imagine something like that. So far, very interesting, folks. Indeed, it's also telling that basically a lot of the times people who see these dragons, folks, or these dragon-like entities, see them while there's basically something going on. As I said, maybe the sightings of the Waverley Abbey happened when there was some sort of conjunction or some sort of natural phenomena that allowed these entities through. Perhaps this volcano when it erupted, folks, caused some sort of portal or tear in reality, and this man was able to see through the veil and see this entity on the other side. What he says he saw, when he saw a dragon, folks. Maybe that's what he saw. Either way, folks, we have 17 people watching. Not bad. I just need 3 more people watching, folks, and I'll be happy. So please share out this live stream, folks. Let's get the 17 people watching before I end my live stream. But let's continue now, folks. And so, indeed, folks. Now, let's see. In the late 20th and early 21st century, Gunung Kensing, a mountain in the province of Lembing, western Java, was thought to be the lair of a dragon. The locals called it the Ular Naga, or dragon snake. It was described as resembling a giant snake with a horse-like head and bat's wings. The monster terrorized Persararan village for years. It stole and ate children, often attacking in broad daylight. The beast would snatch the children whilst their parents were busy in the fields. One village elder, Darga, said that the dragon was seen almost daily. In the end, the villagers blocked up the entrance to the cave where they thought the creature lurked. After that, the killing stopped, but the people were so scared that they mostly abandoned their homes and moved to other villages. Okay, folks, it's been basically something that I've speculated before, folks, but this entity, the Gunung Kensing, resembles basically a snake-like entity with a horse-like head. Now, other horse-like headed entities have been noted before, folks, basically river and lake monsters. Now, could it be that basically maybe these entities are related to dragons? If dragons do exist, I would not basically be surprised if these other entities don't exist as well. They've been known as these entities, the lake monsters, have been known having horse or basically elongated like horse-like heads, reptilian, even basically reptilian, and basically more, I guess, maybe unlike a brontosaurus or a plesiosaur, folks, but having elongated heads more along the lines of basically like an alligator, but more, let's say, I guess, dainty looking because it looks more horse-like, folks. That could be what we're seeing here, folks. But the fact that there are so many legends of snake-like or basically dragon entities with horse-like heads is telling that maybe there's a relationship to each other. We can talk about that a little more later as well, folks. Now, before we continue, though, let me take a swig of water. Ah. Thank God. It's up. Huh. Hopefully y'all can see me, folks. Let me make sure I'm all streaming and stuff like that. Let me go out. Hello, folks. Just making sure you all can see me. I went out and in to make sure basically everything was working. All right, that. Okay, folks. Ooh, we have 20 people watching, by the way, folks. That's pretty good. Oh, let me also do this too, folks, before we continue and stuff like that. But either way, not too bad. Let me make sure everything's good. Looks like we're all streaming, we're all that good. Either way, folks, let's continue with the article. Also, let me clean my thing and stuff like that. I'm not willing to basically go out and in again, folks, because I want to make sure I'm still streaming. So let's continue and stuff like that. Either way, folks, we have 20 people watching. Thank you for making this a truly great live stream so far. So let's continue and read some more about this, folks. Either way, it's been a good live stream and stuff like that. So you have that. And by the way, folks, maybe I'll talk about other stuff later, but I am thinking about basically starting my pre-launch from basically my second chance campaign on basically my book Scumdogs this month, folks. And it'll basically be up on Indiegogo, GoFundMyComic, and Kickstarter. But I'm just giving you a heads up on that before we continue. I'm just making sure saying that before we continue, folks. So let's continue. Let's get back to these articles and these stories, folks. Now, let's talk about more dragon sightings, folks, or more giant, more of these reptilian indies, folks. More dragon sightings. Let's get back to it. The late great fortune researcher Linda Godfrey was contacted by a witness who claimed to have seen dragons in Wisconsin in 2007. One young man called Jim, called Jim, I guess, or should say one young man calls, he says calls Jim, folks, but I'm assuming he means that basically called Jim, a pseudonym, told her that on October 7th, 2007 in Nogano Falls, he and some friends had attended a concert. They were lying on the top of their vans and on the grass looking up at the sky when they all saw something strange. A ball of orange and blue fire shot across the sky, followed by something even weirder. Jim said we knew it had to be a dragon because how else would you describe something flying over that was almost silent, larger than a plane, and had a tail and bat-like wings, a long neck, and a narrow pointed head and scales. I remember noticing the scales because they were dimly reflected. They dimly reflected the street lights below. We thought we were all seeing things, but 5 minutes later, it flew over again, this time in the opposite direction. Indeed, folks, so this thing had physical effects on reality. I'm saying basically it wasn't just an image in the sky, folks. I could see that it was literally reflecting the light from basically the concert, as well as the lights that they basically, had on their cars, as this entity reflected light off of its scales as it flew over. And it wasn't just once, folks. They saw it fly over them and basically gobsmacked them, and then the entity flew over again, and they knew it wasn't a dream. Because they all saw it and saw that basically light was reflecting off of it, folks. It was a real physical object, whatever this thing was, folks. It was a living, breathing entity. That's unless it was basically some sort of very sophisticated, I guess, hologram, folks, because that's the only thing I can think of. But even I don't think a hologram could reflect light like that. Because even now, folks, we don't have the technology to do that even now. Pardon me, by the way, folks. Either way, that's really was a bizarre story that the people saw when they basically were at a concert one day back in, Alcona Falls in October 7th, 2007. What band were they basically at, though, folks? Yeah, they were basically, They were at a concert, but they don't mention which band it was. Too bad, folks. Maybe if we knew what band it was and basically track, basically, what band was in town on October 7th, 2007, we could find out. In fact, folks, we could probably basically try to find out about what happened with that. Right now. In fact, folks, I think I've read this article before, this story before, but I never thought basically about maybe trying to track down the actual, story. Let me go over here, folks. October 7, 2000 saw Carnival Falls concert. Let me try to take a look at this, folks. Yeah, concert and stuff like that. So just give me a moment, folks, because this sounds very interesting, I have to say. I really want to see this out, folks. I want to see, do we basically get a name for the concert? Maybe basically name the band that was playing at the time, folks? Because it sounds interesting to me if we could. Concert. Yeah, it's concert. Let's try that, folks. Concert history of friends at the Art of Carnival Falls. Oh, okay. Let's look at concert archives, folks. Let's see if we can't find it. See here? Find Arts and Concerts, October 11th, 2000. Doesn't seem to have it, folks. I did get this right, didn't I? Basically by a concert. Let's basically look at this, folks. Carnival Falls High School, class of 2007, classreport.org. Maybe we can get something from this, perhaps? Maybe. Carnival Falls High School, 2007. I don't really... this says operated by members of our class. We need our class administrator. Click here to learn more and volunteer. I don't really see class news, our class message, today's featured biography, family news, family calendar, today's featured, class member... I don't see anything, folks, sadly. I guess I could try it on to say more. I was hoping really for basically finding more information on this particular thing. If we could actually, nail down what concert that happened in Kanto Falls in 2007, stuff like that. Yeah. Or maybe we should basically try this. Concerts. October 7th, 2007 in Carnival Falls, concerts that were played concerts scheduled. Let's basically try this, folks. Concerts in Carnival Falls, upcoming events at damn it. Maybe try this. Let's see one more time, folks, at least basically this. Concerts and events in Carnival Falls, right? Get tickets to upcoming events, concert live. Damn it, this doesn't really tell me anything that happened back in 2007, folks. All right, I'm going to give up for now. Maybe I'll try later, folks, to see if I can't track down any more of those concerts that could have happened. I mean, I was looking for a name. Who was playing on this band, folks? Oh, I didn't go to share screen, did I? So let me do this and stuff like that. Let me do this. Oh, boy. I'm back again. Either way, the moment I basically did anything, this almost went down, didn't it? Oh, we have 21 people watching, by the way, folks. That's pretty good. Thank you. Either way, let me make sure you're all looking at me. So let me go over here. Let me make sure this is all good. Yeah. So we have that. One more time, folks. Let me go out of my stream and back in because my camera's gone all blurry again. So I'm worried it'll bring down the stream. So let me do this. maybe I should just keep it plain. I'd really like to give you guys a better look than basically having the camera being all fuzzy and like this. So let me do this. It shouldn't basically bring down the. I'm back, folks. Let me do this. Let me go to share screen. Hopefully this won't be a problem. Let's do this again. And I'm back. Now, my picture does look a little better. No. Is it just this that's basically doing that or what? All right. I guess that's as good as I'm going to get for the picture-wise, folks. It doesn't look too bad. Either way, let's read some more about this. If you didn't realize, folks, I was trying to basically track down this concert that took place on October 7th, 2007, in Ocona Falls in Wisconsin. Maybe with a bat to the face. If you're wondering what I was doing now, folks, I was just complaining that basically my stream keeps going down. As I said, I was trying to basically look at this concert that took place in Wisconsin, in Ocona Falls on October 7th, 2007. And I didn't put basically Wisconsin in there as well. I wonder, maybe just one more time, folks. Maybe I'll do that. Falls. Yeah. Wisconsin concert schedule. Let's try that, folks. Did that work? Let's see that. All right, folks. I'm going to keep streaming as long as I can. My stream keeps going down, but we have a good amount of people watching, so there's that. That's good. Let's see. We have 16 people watching. Okay, we had 5. Yeah, we had 6 people watching. Yeah, that. So we had 22 people watching so far. That's pretty good. But either way, folks, I'm trying to track down this concert that happened. Yeah, concert events in Ocona Falls, Benseltown, and stuff like that. Yeah. All right, let's basically see this. Benseltown and stuff like that. I don't think I can. I don't see any way to basically go back. This month, damn it. Here's what we're looking at, folks. Let me also go over here. As you can see, I'm trying to see if basically we can go back and stuff like that, but I can't seem to find anything on this particular page here, folks. As you can see, I don't see any way to basically looking back. Electronic, folk, hip hop, jazz. That it says choose the month today. I'm back again, folks. This time I wasn't basically talking about basically how it seems like my stream is slapping me in the face as if it were basically a baseball bat or a dick. If to be funny there, folks. My stream keeps going down, but at least I have people watching. But maybe I should get back to what we were doing here, folks, because I don't want to bore you. A bit angry here. I wish I could just check down. I was going to see if I could just find this particular concert, folks. Either way, we talked about it, folks, and these people at this concert, they said that they saw this winged creature, this dragon, fly over over them well, as they were basically looking up at the sky, folks, and said that they saw this entity's scales reflect the light from their car and the concert as it flew over twice, folks. Once when they basically were gobsmacked, and again, and they were even more bewildered with what they saw as they noticed literally it was a physical object, folks. But that's what they were seeing back in 2007 in Ocala Falls, well, October 7th in Wisconsin, folks. Too bad I couldn't basically locate exactly when this concert took place because it happened at one, folks, and basically wonder who or what was playing at the concert, folks, and see if basically anyone else basically left any other comments on it, or at the very least, I could track down exactly who was playing at the time, what was going on at this concert. That's what I tried to do there, folks. Sorry about the delay, but I figured it would basically give my live stream a bit of air of authenticity if I basically found exactly what was going on. Now let me go back over here, folks. Looks like my live stream's going well so far, but let's get back and look at some more stories of dragons, folks. Dragons and stuff like that. Either way, the fact that we could basically pinpoint exactly what happened in Wisconsin, folks, in Ocala Falls, who was playing. As I said, folks, that would be amazing. Either way, it's an interesting story. But let's move on. Linda later contacted Jim's mother. Okay, so there's more to the story, folks, whom she referred to as Janet. Jim had phoned his mother for a lift and told her what he had seen. Just Janet thought her son was joking and went to pick him up. She noticed a shadow crossing a parking lot and then saw a fireball, blue with orange around it, shooting from the east to west in the sky. Jim told her that he and his friends had seen the same thing before the dragon had arrived. Janet then drove her son home. Okay, folks, so was this actually some sort of, was this really some sort of dragon sighting, or was this some sort of maybe result of, of seeing, a UFO? As I said, folks, people who see UFOs often see other phenomena as well. So they saw this orange fireball, blue and orange fireball. So maybe it was a UFO, and maybe for whatever reason, folks, like basically with the volcano, it tore a rip in the veil, separating, this dragon from basically the mundane, ordinary world that basically we all live in, folks. Because maybe this fireball was a UFO. It basically transversed into our universe, our world, folks. Or maybe from basically another planet, folks. And then, but it left a hole in reality, and this entity or whatever was allowed to seep through, perhaps? I don't know. It's the fact that basically people who see UFOs, folks, see other phenomena like dragons, Bigfoot, or things that makes you think that maybe there is some merit to the idea. Either way, folks, it's very telling that we see so many, stories with some of the same instances that corroborate each other. So it's very interesting. Either way, there's also more to it, folks. Either way, Linda also spoke to Jim's sister, Jill. Jim had talked, her into staying up. The pair lay on a trampoline in their backyard looking up at the sky. Okay, that's interesting, folks. Indeed. I was trying to adjust my camera there as well, folks. Either way, they saw a fireball shooting east to west, followed quickly by one moving west to east. Then they heard a loud screech that caused all the local dogs to bark. Then the dragon returned. The creature was flying over 20 feet above their two-story house. After looking at pictures of pterosaurs, they say that the wing structure was very different. The family also saw smaller dragons that they took to be younger younger of the larger ones. The smaller creatures seemed to be playing by circling each other. Jill said, "I don't care what the scientists say. It was not a pterodactyl. I could see it had pearly pale scales, and the fireball came from its mouth. They were beautiful and flew gracefully. I could see that they had 4 legs too. They were tucked up underneath them like, when a bird flies." Okay, so they sound like literally, unlike pterodactyls, folks. These sound like basically dragons, basically literal fantasy dragons, folks. So that's amazing. Now, are these entities real, or are they some sort of tulpas? As I said, folks, I thought that maybe this was indeed some sort of alien, maybe something in conjunction with some sort of alien, sighting, a sighting of a UFO. And somehow this entities brought these other dragon-like entities, these creatures to our world, perhaps. Maybe it left a hole in the veil. But the fact that they come on. Okay, folks, I guess I'm back again. I was saying, because the sister saw these dragons basically breathe fire from their mouths, and it was the same blue and orange color. Well, maybe this light wasn't a UFO, it was just the dragons. But I said, but my idea still stands here, folks. maybe UFOs were involved in some instance, folks. Maybe this blue and orange light was maybe the same energy or basically similar to what basically the light that was seen by basically Jim's mother. Maybe it was a UFO. I can't be for sure, folks. I'm not ruling out, but the fact that basically these entities were basically breathing the same energy makes that me think that maybe whatever energy that did bring these entities through to our world, folks, was the same energy that could basically anyone or maybe some alien beings could use to traverse from one world to another, either from one universe or maybe from, one planet in our own universe to another as well, faster than light. Either way, folks, basically Jim's sister says they were definitely not pterodactyls. They had 4 legs and they flew. So they were literally basically fantasy dragons that you'd see basically from, Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that. Except the basically younger ones or the smaller ones with what they thought were younger dragons, folks, are smaller. So there's that. Either way, folks, once again, let me make sure I'm streaming. Yeah, it looks like I'm pretty good, folks. Not bad. Let me go over here as well, folks, real quick. Yeah, we still have 22 people watching, folks. That's pretty good. 21, 22. Either way, thank you so far, folks, but we can read some more. But let's get back to basically Jim's story here, folks. Yeah, either way, Jim's sister, he says they flew with their legs tucked up under them like birds. So that's, the way a bird flies. But let's read on, folks. Now, this case is interesting because the creature is described as a dragon with 4 legs and 2 wings. However, most screen depictions of dragons these days make the mistake of only giving them 2 legs, technically making them weave-ins. Here, it seems the media did not influence the witnesses. Indeed, folks. Yeah, because it's been stated before, folks, in various encounters with basically paranormal. You can even see with basically ghostly accounts, folks, that basically what we basically think of as, monsters basically look like basically modern folklore monsters. I mean, people have basically said that they've seen ghosts or basically the black-haired ghost girl. I mean, La Llorona, basically, before The Ring, before the movie The Ring, basically was released in 2003, folks, La Llorona was basically a black-haired woman who wailed. But after the movie The Ring, folks, people basically then conflated La Llorona with, Samara from, Sayako from the original Japanese version of The Ring, folks. Basically, La Llorona basically now looks, or basically some people basically say that La Llorona looks like Samara or Sayako from that movie, with basically the black hair covering her face. Before then, folks, people would look at La Llorona, and you'd basically be able to see her face, and you could see that she would wail and scream. She would have pale skin and red, or maybe even glowing eyes. I'm not quite sure about that, folks. Either way, she'd be terrifying. But now, folks, they say that the hair covers her face like Samara. So, like folklore here, folks, like modern folklore from movies, it looks like Jim's sister saw these dragons, and they look like typical fantasy dragons, and not like weave-ins. So, maybe this account gives this, or maybe her statement gives this account a little more authenticity, because her account was basically very unique. When people basically see sometimes dragons now, they're looking at pterodactyls or weave-ins. Here we have basically, literally four-legged typical fantasy dragons. That's what basically, Jim's sister said she saw. Very interesting. So indeed, I think that does give our story a little more credence here, folks, and wonder why that is. Now, these are just a few of the stories I have collected. They may seem absurd, but they are, but are they any more ridiculous than other fortune phenomena, such as encounters with aliens, spaceships, falls of fish, or spirits of the dead? Not really, folks. Indeed, folks. Now, falls of fish, people basically saying that basically fish have fallen through the sky, folks. Those have been those can be, sometimes those can be explained. As I said, folks, sometimes tornadoes do pick up fish and other livestock and fling them up into the air. Either a tornado basically goes in the water and does that, as well as basically, sometimes airplanes basically have had accidentally dumped their cargo and stuff like that. It can happen. I'm back again, folks. As I said, maybe the plane sometimes goes down, it blows up in the sky, and the whatever they're carrying falls to the earth. Sometimes that's fish. But basically, falls of fish have happened for thousands of years. People are reporting this phenomenon, folks. Sometimes people can't explain it at all. And maybe it is something along the lines of more of a miracle and stuff like that. But I can basically say that if you look at basically natural phenomena, tornadoes, hurricanes, they could definitely basically do something like falls of fish. I'm just saying that, folks. Sometimes, but then again, a lot of these instances of falls of fish, folks, or other weird phenomena like spirits of the dead or basically Bigfoot, aliens, and spaceships, while they're absurd, well, the only real basic explanation for them, folks, is that maybe they are, well, that people did see what they say they saw. Now, before I continue, folks, let me go back over here again, say about this, making sure that you all can hear me. Yeah, as I said, folks, sometimes basically falls of fish, people see dragons, and, well, indeed, these things did happen. You just can't prove that they happened, folks, and stuff like that. Indeed, like I say, folks, I give these people I do listen to them, folks, but unfortunately, they need actual proof of it. I mean, Jim's sister can say that she saw dragons all she wants. She could have made a mistake, folks. Maybe they didn't have four legs, but she says that she did definitely see these entities have four legs. Unfortunately, folks, it's her word, it's Jim's word and his mother's, and they have no physical proof that any of this ever actually happened. I'm not saying they're lying, folks. They just don't have physical proof. So maybe indeed there are dragons of many different types. There are falls of fish that happen, folks, and they maybe their relationship, maybe they have some sort of definite relationship to God. Maybe literally pouring fish down on people, folks, so they can eat them. Because there are legends basically that there are falls of fish and people ate the fish, folks. So maybe, or basically it's like a miracle and stuff like that. You get the idea. But maybe there's some truth to it. Either way, these dragons and the signs we've seen with them, folks, maybe there are similar phenomena that sometimes crosses over into our mundane world and people do experience it. That's why I'm saying there, folks. That's why I brought it up. Now, but what about Great Britain? As I get back to the article, folks, indeed. On December 27th, 2023, multiple witnesses saw dragons at Waverley Abbey near Freeman in Surrey, and I am conducting an ongoing investigation into the case. Jim Downs first alerted me to the case. A group of 10 people, ghost hunters from the South Coast group, had been at the Abbey conducting ghost research that evening when they all saw strange flying creatures. The Abbey itself was founded in 1128 by Bishop William Giffard, and was a functioning Cistercian abbey. Cistercian abbey until it fell victim to Henry VIII's dissolution in 1536. I arranged to interview one of the witnesses at the site itself, and together with fellow fortune Jackie Tonks, fortune researcher, I said, fellow fortune researcher probably, Jackie Tonks, traveled to Surrey. The witness was a Polish lady named Dora, second name on record. She and her mother, met us at the Abbey, and we interviewed her. We've been using a Ouija board at 9 in the evening. The planchet had spelled out the name Zozo. For those not in the know, Zozo was was the supposed demonic entity that American Darian Evans claimed to have contacted in 2009. Darian subsequently claimed that the entity was responsible for all kinds of havoc in his life. He recorded the story on the site True Ghost Tales. Zozo became somewhat of an internet meme for a while, and even all right, folks, I'm going to read a bit more about this, and then I'm going to end my live stream, because my live stream, it keeps going down, and I don't know how much longer I can basically keep it up until it falls completely. But I'll read this story, basically this encounter with Zozo and stuff like that. Now, let me make sure you all can see me over here for a little quick. Hopefully, you all can still see me, and you're all basically able to hear me. 16 watching. Okay, that's ooh. It's back again. I can't even basically check this. This is, folks, I'm having trouble keeping my live stream up. I plan to do another live stream, finish off this article tomorrow and stuff like that. And we're not doing too bad. We had 22 people watching today, and I thank you for that. Almost an hour, folks. I had a pretty good. Okay, there's that. All right, let's try this. Oh, damn it. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure I'm streaming up on Rumble and BitChute, folks, but basically, we have 17 people watching, okay, and we have 22 people watching, 23 people watching, okay, so that's pretty good. I had 23 people watching the day. Okay, I'm going to basically finish up what I can of this article, then and do in my stream, folks. Either way, we have basically this sighting that took place with Zozo, folks, as I said, who basically became quite the meme and stuff like that. Either way, from the American Darren Evans claimed to have contacted in 2009. Darren subsequently claimed that the entity was responsible for all kinds of havoc in his life. He recorded the story on the site True Ghost Tales. Zozo became somewhat of an internet meme for a while, and even had a horror film made about it. The name first appeared in an 1816 book. The Infernal Dictionary by J. Keyes, Acosta, Simon Colin de Plancy is one of the three entities supposed to have possessed a girl. However, the author rejects the story as false because the girl had previously been feels like I'm being slapped in the face. My stream keeps going down, folks. Either way, it feels like every time it does it, I get a slap to the face with a baseball bat or something more worse, folks. Either way, basically, this girl who claimed that she was possessed by Sozo and three other entity folks, the author rejects that the story is as false because the girl had previously been punished for false claims of demonic possession. Either way, there's that, folks. As the story can be traced back to the one man named Devin Evans, the story is probably a hoax, and Zozo has no more reality than the Slender Man, the Rake, or the Dybbuk box. Either way, after ending the Ouija session, the group had tried. Either way, these people, this girl, this Polish lady named Dora, and her mother, folks, they tried basically contacting Zozo or basically conducting a Ouija. They were doing a Ouija seance. At Waverley Abbey. And they were trying to contact something and stuff like that. Either way, after the Ouija session ended, the group tried tried table turning on a portable table with fold-up legs. Whilst their hands were on the table, it shook violently and the legs snapped shut. Oh. Okay, I'll read a bit more before I end my stream, folks, and this is very interesting, as I said. Okay, yeah. But either way, folks, let's read a bit more before I, as I said, end it. Either way, the legs on this table snapped shut, and Dora and her friends basically were probably now. The group then moved over to the larger grounds of the Abbey. Now it was about in the evening, crossing over to some woods around 200 meters or 600 feet away. Dora saw a giant flying creature emerge. Blink around in the air, then dive back into the woods. Its wings were bat-like and 10 meters or 33 feet across, measured against the trees. None of the others saw this. Then another smaller creature flew into view, much closer. Dora said it was a man-sized, about 6 feet long with a 10-foot wingspan. Again, the wings were bat-like. It seemed to be, to be dark brown in color. The creature landed on the ruins of the Abbey at the south transept. She did not get a good look at the head of the beast, but saw a long tail that ended in an arrowhead point. The beast then flew off. The geese in the nearby river were screaming at the time. She produced a rough sketch of what she saw. Okay, folks, I think I'll leave that off at there, folks. I just wanted to get basically to, the Waverley, Abbey dragon signs and stuff like that. Either way, Dora and her friends were basically contacting demonic entities, and maybe they somehow summoned this dragon, much like basically with Jim and his family, folks. Somehow, maybe they were in the right place, and they basically saw some sort of dragon entities, folks. As I said, maybe this Jim's sign has something to do with aliens, but the fact that basically both Jim and Dora and their respective group, friends, and family folks all saw these entities after maybe some weird phenomena. Remember, basically Jim saw this and his friends saw this weird blue and orange light over the concert right before they saw these dragons, while Dora and her friends were basically contacting Zozo and basically doing a seance and Ouija board, reading on Waverley, Abbey, and stuff like that, that maybe somehow they also triggered some sort of thinning of the veil in both parties, both Jim and his sister and mother and his friends and Dora's friends, folks. Somehow they were able to basically somehow pierce the veil, and these entities came through and they witnessed them. Is it possible, folks? Maybe. It definitely does sound like it to me. This is what happened. Now, we can talk more about this tomorrow, folks, and we had a great stream, but I'm going to end it now because I want to end my live stream while you all can still hear it. Now, folks, I probably won't upload 2 videos today because I'm a little late, but I did yesterday. But so maybe I will. But we're pretty much at the end now. So let me end my live stream. And by doing my normal spiel, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. The there's misspelled. It's THRE. It's Read Comics They're Bad For You. It's supposed to be They're Bad For You. But as you know, as I've said so many times before, folks, I misspelled the there in the title of my YouTube channel. So it's Read Comics They're Bad For You. It's supposed to be Read Comics They're Bad For You, but it's They're Bad For You. Get it? Use the links down below in the descriptions to go subscribe to me. Yeah, also I was making sure I was streaming up on Rumble and BitChute, folks. So thank you for joining me. Either way, hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications, folks. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. Now, folks, we have basically, 24 people watching the day. That's pretty good. Indeed, folks, we have 24 people watching. Either way, let's continue. Now, please go over and subscribe to Dark Sayings on YouTube and on BitChute. Then go subscribe to Robot Co-op on YouTube and on Twitch. I also want you to go over and subscribe to Stitched to get the pics up on YouTube, okay? All right, now remember, there are links down below or in the descriptions. There are links to YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch or BitChute, Dark Sayings, Robot Co-op, and Stitched to get the pics. Remember, go subscribe to Dark Sayings and Stitched to get the pics, as well as basically anyone else, folks. I want you to, but I really want you folks to go and subscribe to my own channels. Now, usually I'll upload 2 videos a day, and maybe I will, but yeah, as I said, I'm running late today, folks, because of things. Also, my live stream and, internet seems to be bad today, so maybe I'll just skip the day. Either way, just wait for my videos. Maybe they'll be up, maybe they won't. But that's just what it is, folks. But also, remember, yeah. Remember, I'm going to unlist this live stream up on YouTube, folks. So if you still want to watch it, just keep watching the YouTube video. But it'll be unlisted. But I'm going to unlist it. Or you can use the links down below in descriptions to go subscribe to me up on Rumble or BitChute, because all my live streams, all my videos are up on those sites 24/7. Or you can use the link on my X or Twitter page at 777MegaChris1. Okay. Either way, folks. As I was saying, I'm going to unlist this, live stream up on YouTube, okay? Yeah. Now, remember, anyone who backed my book, Scumdogs, you're definitely getting your book soon. And remember, I'm going to basically do a new second chance campaign for my book, Scumdogs, up on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and GoFund my book. I'm going to try and basically get it, maybe do the pre-launch, launch up this month. Either way, I want you to know that. Now, I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm just going to basically end it now, folks. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow with another great live stream, followed by 2 more, videos tomorrow, folks. Until then, as usual, folks, thank you for joining me. We'll have some more fun tomorrow, and we'll definitely have a great time. Hopefully, I won't have these problems like I had today, folks. Either way, we had 24 people watching today. And once again, maybe one more time before I leave, folks, I'll take a look over here. If we have any more people watching. Yeah, we had 18 people watching, folks, so we did well. But we're at the end, so bye.